Hi, here we are. Dr. Gilbert here, joined with Rachel Matthews. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I am great, doing
Are you
great. How are
staying?
you?
Yeah, staying warm. It's so cold out there.
It's pouring. It's
Yeah, pouring down rain.
pouring.
Did you get any snow yesterday?
So much snow.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
It was amazing. I think this is the earliest I remember having it in Albany. Lots of snow. It was great.
Didn't stick. Didn't stick. It was that wet, heavy snow that melts as soon as it touches the ground.
Yeah. I don't know though. I think I got up and checked outside the window, and all the rooftops they
We're
were
covered.
all white in the wee hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then we're supposed to have some sunshine tomorrow.
Oh, look at that.
I know.
We're gonna everything to think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. And the big thing that happened this weekend was our daylight saving time.
Daylight savings. I think this seems to be the easier one for most people because you kind of sleep in a little bit. You feel like you have more time.
Fall back. Right.
Fall back. Yeah. That's right.
End of daylight savings, right? Isn't it the end of?
Something like I never understood.
I think it's the end, right?
Yeah.
So we fall back. Yeah.
There we go.
Right. But it can tend to, throw people off, jet lag people an hour, in their sleep, especially if they think they have an extra hour. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't keep your normal rhythms or try to get quickly on a normal rhythm, it can really throw you off track for a while.
Yeah. And that's a great lead in segue to what we're talking about. We're talking about sleep. Yes. And we're using the book Sleep Smarter by Shawn Stevens.
Yes.
And Rachel, what chapter are we in this week?
So we are on chapter 6, and the title is Get to Bed at the Right Time.
Get to bed at the right time. All right. Is the right time different for you than me versus somebody, my neighbor?
Great question. And he does a good job of addressing this and recognizes that, first of all, we have to remember every person's a little different. And we all live in different places in the world. And that can really greatly change. When is your sun coming up? When is your sun going down? Right. So taking that into consideration, he mentions that. So the power tip number 1 in this chapter is go to bed about 2 hours after dark. So, it's going to change a little bit, but he said what it seems to be is somewhere between the 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock time period tends to be about the window when most people should likely be going to bed based on the sun and when the sun is setting.
Right. Well, and because if you check out when the sun sets right now, with the daylight change, let me go. My phone shows me that every day.
Go grab it. Yeah. You guys are all looking at her office. This is her waiting room. So if you visit Dr. Gilbert at her office, that's the beautiful waiting room. Yes.
So this says, and sometimes I feel like I want to go to bed. So the sun is going down because of at 4:52 p.m. So that means 2 hours. That means 7 o'clock.
Right. And so he addresses this because the question is, well, shoot, should I be going to bed at like 7 or 8 o'clock? And, it's an interesting question. I don't think there's a strong, hard answer here, but it does seem that our circadian rhythm, our natural biorhythm with the sun and with our sleep patterns, the winter time does suggest more snoozing, and the summertime does suggest more hours of wake. And I wonder if this is, how it's supposed to.
Right. And I love this because I used to feel so guilty about sleeping more or going to bed earlier. And now this gives me permission to do that. So I love that, to go to bed early. It may not be 7 o'clock, but maybe 8. Whereas, and it kind of makes intuitive sense. The sun's out longer. It's kind of hard to go to bed when the sun is up.
Right. Very hard. In the summertime, it's very hard to go to bed early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense. He also talks about, now this is on the flip side, waking up within an hour of waking up, getting light. So making sure that you're awake And within that first hour that you're getting natural light. So he says it can help reset your sleep cycle, especially if you're tired. If you want to be tired at bedtime, reset your cycle starting with the morning first. It's a lot easier to wake up earlier and get that bright light than it is to try to force yourself to go to bed earlier.
Right.
Yeah, if you're trying to reset.
Right. That's a good thought, because so if I make myself get out of bed, then I am going to be tired to go to bed earlier at night.
Yes.
Right. So that makes a lot of sense too. Good.
And you can, you can make yourself wake up early. You can, but you can't force yourself to fall asleep earlier. So that's where it's a little bit easier on the flip side. And he says this is going to help boost your natural cortisol levels and fully wake your system up. So get into the habit of getting sunlight, and we'll talk about that in a moment, as soon as possible when you wake up.
Right, because the sun is coming out. Well, it doesn't show it, but I think it's like at 7-ish in the morning. So if you're getting up at 6, then getting that, looking at the sun, or if you're getting up at 6:30, then looking, even if you're standing on your porch in the pouring rain, you can look at, and there's something about going outside versus looking through a window, right?
Yes, exactly. So many of our windows block a lot of the UVA and UVB, which can be a good thing, but not when we're trying to get the actual natural light in our retina. We need to see the light, and it's okay if the sun isn't out. In Oregon, we're like, well, we're not going to see the sun for 9 months. So what about us? Yeah. No. The sun is still out, and the UV is strong enough to get through the cloud cover. So you will benefit from seeing that first light. So
so many cultures, right? They greet the sun in the morning, right?
Yes, the sun salutation in yoga. Yeah. So like you said, standing outside or opening the window and getting some of that fresh air and some bright light within that first hour, even if it's 5 minutes, but maybe if you could do 10 or 20, that'd be even better.
Right. And you're ticking so many boxes there for health. You're ticking that maybe that chill of the morning to rev your system and get your mitochondria keeping you warm. You're ticking that box, and you're ticking the fresh air box. I mean, and which is so important for health. And then you're also ticking that the UV light hitting your retina and stimulating that central retinal pathway that connects to your pineal gland, which houses your body clock and keeps you in sync with the natural rhythm of the day. Yeah.
Yes. I love just a little bit of science behind that. Makes me go, this is a system, and I can work with my system. I just have to be a little bit more aware of it. In the olden days before lights and, computers and things, we did this more naturally. People just knew, because when it's dark, you go to sleep, and when it's light, you get up. But we have all this artificial ways to stay awake and get up. And so we have to kind of be reminded of what is natural and what feels right. And if you're having trouble with sleep, these are a couple of those tips. These are a couple of those things that can be really helpful.
Yeah. What else does he say?
Okay. The final tip that we can talk about today, which I think is the most intriguing, it was for me, is our sleep cycles. So he says, time your sleep cycles. During normal sleep at night, your body follows a predictable pattern, moving back and forth between deep sleep, restorative sleep, and alert sleep and REM sleep. So there's all these different stages. These stages of REM and non-REM come together to form a complete sleep cycle. And a typical sleep cycle lasts about 90 minutes.
Right.
And we go off and on, and we keep repeating those cycles. So if we're waking up in the morning in between a 90-minute cycle, so let's say we cut it off at the 45-minute, our body didn't get to complete that nice, balanced, full 90 minutes. And it may be a little more, maybe a little less. It's we don't know perfectly. It's about 90 minutes. So I kind of did the math, and he kind of gives he talks about the different patterns, and there's a way to kind of do the math. But basically, we say, everyone should get about 8 hours of sleep. But really, if you're going to get this in the cycles of 90 minutes, it's about 7.5. How about you? How much do you think you sleep?
I probably sleep 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, he says, try it and
Mhm.
see, some people think, well, I'll feel better if I sleep an extra half hour. Maybe not.
Maybe
'Cause
not.
now,
Because if you're waking up in the middle of it, you're going to wake up in a grog versus the refreshed state. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Mhm.
So the the logic here would then follow. So 5 cycles is 7.5 hours of sleep. You'll finish 5 full cycles of 90 minutes in 7.5 hours. If you sleep longer than 7.5 hours, then you got to go to 9 hours
Right.
to be in the 6 cycles, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of an interest. I mean,
Yeah. And if you sleep less than that,
right.
then it's 5.5 hours, right?
Right. Then you've got, if you're going down to 4 cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is interesting because we can set our alarms. There's lots of great apps online that actually work with sleep cycles, and you tell it, this is how many cycles I want, or this is what time I want to wake up. And it
Mm.
will count backwards for you and say, then you need to go to bed by this time
Okay.
in order to get this many
Cool.
cycles. It's
Yeah.
really cool. It
Yeah.
will do all the math for you.
That's great. And there's so many wearable gadgetry that can help measure your sleep, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it kind of shows how many, because your heart rate changes depending on the stage of sleep that you're in.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right. So you can see, you can watch the patterns. And it's interesting. When I first started doing this book as a group with Oregon Weight and Wellness, I was paying a lot of attention to my sleep and doing a little bit of data on my, a little research on myself.
Mhm.
And what I found out that was very surprising to me is when I've had a glass of alcohol, if I've had even a glass of wine, my sleep is so much worse.
Oh.
I don't dip into as many cycles.
Uh-huh.
I sleep more shallow.
Yeah.
And I wake up more, and I don't even realize I'm waking up, but I'm kind of like, there's like these alert stages that normally I don't hit.
Right. Interesting.
So that's kind of okay. I mean, we know that you don't get great sleep if you've had a lot of alcohol, but
Right.
even just one glass made a difference for my sleep.
Made a difference. Okay. And that can be motivating. Sometimes we need more of a reason for a change.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be really motivating. So I love you collected a little data.
Mhm.
You weren't judging anything. You were just kind of observing. You were the observer, and you made some connections.
Yeah.
And you just, and maybe that helped you make a change.
It did. It did. And certainly more than anything, at the very least, I know I don't want to have a glass of wine within a couple of hours of bed.
Right.
If I were to have a glass of wine with dinner, I want to make sure there's a couple of hours that it can clear.
Right. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
True. Very good. Yeah. And so in interest of, improving my sleep, I have been doing better, not watching the television, so I have a limit, so it's just 10 minutes. And if I gave myself 10 minutes, then I can turn the thing off because there's nothing on there anyway. And I can usually just kind of have my self-talk saying, you're not missing anything. There's nothing new, so, but giving myself that 10 minutes to do the channel surf, I think really has helped me kind of give myself that cutoff. Right. Nice. So it's like, oh yeah, there's really nothing here that's worth more than sleep. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's letting me have that nice, it's not quite 90 minutes, but it's probably 45 now minutes between,
screen time.
Thank you. And bedtime.
Yeah.
So I'm doing better there, Rachel.
You Yay. Sure are. You again, you did some science research on yourself and got curious about what would be a good pattern and what you discovered. This, I love hearing people's stories about how they discover what works for them. And for you, it's if you put a limit of 10 minutes, then your brain kind of goes, yeah, not worth it. But if you approach screen time or TV time with kind of like a free for all and there's no end time, the mind will find all sorts of things to watch for no reason. And you realize I'm just wasting time. But the way that you structured it for your brain, that's working.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm hoping that other people will kind of take some of these things into consideration and realize how important sleep is for their health. I mean, we're spending pretty much 33% of our lives sleeping, and we want to do it well.
Yeah.
So that sleep can have its beneficial effect on our health and our vitality.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, there's my son came home from college not too long ago, and he's taking a class in some sports science, and he wants to be like a physical therapist
Mhm.
or something like that. Anyway, they were in sports. They were talking about how important sleep is, and to get it through to these kids, they said if sleep was an illegal drug, it would be like a if people understood how beneficial sleep is for not just your cognitive functioning, but your athletic performance, then it would be considered a banned drug, you know,
Yeah.
right? He's like, these athletes need to understand that sleep is their most powerful drug that they can like use, you know,
Yeah.
to
Right.
be good at athletics. And so I think for the younger generation, they're kind of going,
Yeah.
interesting. You know?
That's great. Yeah. Actually, my 25-year-old let me know he wasn't sleeping well and for a little while. And I gave him a few little ideas and he's put a few into practice. And he texted me this morning, Mom, I haven't slept so well in 3 weeks. So yeah. So just a few little tips, you know, it probably doesn't take much, but if we're intentional and mindful and think through it and pay attention then to how what we're doing, we can have a lot of benefit. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks so much for this great conversation, Rachel. And dinner tonight. Should we still talk about that? Do you have a plan?
I don't have a plan, actually. We just got back from being away for the weekend. So I think we're a little, you know what I did? I took some soup out of the freezer that I had frozen a couple weeks ago from a big pot of garden squash soup. So we're covered. Thankfully, I did some food prep and I'd frozen some of it. So that's great. I'm grateful for that. Yeah. How about you?
Kenny's in the kitchen today. And actually on Mondays, we're taking a meal to a friend. We've gotten in a routine of taking a meal to our friend. And so, so I have to say, I don't know what's on the menu tonight.
It'll be something wonderful, I'm sure. If Kenny's in the kitchen.
Kenny's in the kitchen. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for this great conversation and stay healthy and well rested, everyone.
Get some sleep, everybody.
Get some sleep. Okay. Bye-bye.